This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Welcome back to Monday Nights here on RaceSpotTV. We are live once again from Monday Night at Skippys. This time we are here for round number 9 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. But Linus, unlike anything we've seen in the past.
Yeah, it really is. It's an oval and a road course mixed into one, and it's brand new on iRacing. It's not even been here for a year, as it's actually a brand new track in real life as well with this layout, and it's going to be really interesting. A slow bit in the middle with an extra little turn that we don't usually see them run anyway, and then an extremely fast oval with 2 very tricky chicanes that can easily kill you if you make a little mistake. So it's going to be very interesting to see.
Absolutely, and if you're confused at home watching, wondering what's so new about Charlotte and a road course oval, this is a whole new layout. In fact, this is the new layout they're bringing for the actual race in a couple of weeks' time. So Charlotte Motor Speedway had a big revamp on it. It's honestly quite tired road course, and it looks absolutely fantastic now. Not quite something to see Formula 1 cars on, but I don't know. IndyCar for Charlotte? Question mark? I'll be quiet before Will has some sort of hernia. But regardless, we're here for qualifying at the track, and right now Simon Edwards leading the way in qualifying on a 141.809, with a lot of the same usual suspects around him in the numbers. We're getting some of those latter cars qualified, and we'll see what they're going to set for their times. Most of these guys setting their first time lap, Linus, and it's obviously going to be difficult for them. Actually, the road course is autumn. I had it backwards. Do forgive me. But this, of course, is going to be a new track for these guys. They've got a lot of experience in the old layout, and this is quite a complex circuit, especially for NASCAR.
Yeah, it is. It was actually pretty tight, the race they did last year, and they had to redo it a little bit. They have a little bit extra kink before the oval that these guys are using, but they had to take that away from the NASCARs because it got a bit too tight, I think. But it made for some real interesting racing for those guys, and I think it's going to be very interesting for these guys as well. Especially going to be interesting to see who will have the quicker car down the straight. And I was told last week that the draft has actually disappeared from these cars quite a bit, and the tire pressure is now more important. So anyone running higher tire pressure will be really fast around the oval, and anyone running low tire pressures will be really fast on the infield. So it's going to be 2 completely different halves of the lap depending on what sort of tire pressure they're running today.
That's a critical point that's been missing for a long time in the Skip Barber cars. Often it's been a case of run the same setup everywhere, pretty much happy day. It's about the driver. Whereas now the car's a little bit more sensitive, so of course that compromise element's going to be a factor in your race strategy. And yeah, bringing race strategy back to the Skip Barber cars, it feels like a very weird thing to say, but at the same time glad to be able to say it, Linus, because it just adds a bit of extra excitement to these cars that have, I think, honestly been one of the fan favourites of a driver's car. And I think they still have that, and of course this track definitely lends itself to this. And I can kind of see why that last kink was a little bit tough for the NASCAR cars, of course. A little bit too quick a chicane, but of course useful for slowing these cars down coming out of that final corner onto the straight.
Yeah, it really is, and I think these guys will get up to top speed as well before they reach the end of that back straightaway, where you will have sort of a bus stop chicane. It's nearly flat on these cars, like you just saw Woodhouse go through the last bit there, and it has quite massive sausage curbs as well. If you cut it a bit much, you might even fly up into the wall. As you can see him coming down here now towards the last chicane. It's a turning braking point in the downhill over a bit of a edge in the asphalt, like the banking stops and then goes flat, and then you have the last chicane there, which also has massive sausage curbs on the inside, so you can't cut the chicanes at all in these cars, because I think that will just destroy your suspension and flip you right over.
I think that's pretty likely. Well, we're going to have to see what we can do, of course. Don't forget, this race, as always, is brought to you by CALM, the Campaign Against Living Miserably. It's an award-winning charity dedicated to preventing male suicide, which is the single biggest killer of men under the age of 45 in the UK. So check them out, they're in the link in our description. Also, check out Esteban Ballo's Track Pack for Gourmets. These cameras aren't by him, but all the other ones we use are, and they're fantastic. So you'll probably see a difference. These are the basic ones we have, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to see some people, but we'll do our best to make sure everything is visible to you, and we get as great a race as possible. Being a very new track, it's going to be very new to a lot of viewers as well as us ourselves, Linus. But the car's taking the track now, we'll go through qualifying. Simon Edwards on pole today, that time stood for him, 1 minute 41.809, with Lee Anderson in second place. Jack Hobbs and Clark Williams there, with Ben Daniels in 5th. Adam Parle, SJ Dunning, Adrian Hendy, Christopher Keeble and Jake Ridlington in 10th. We've got Tony Stack, Dave Kirkman, Chris Roberts with Christian Laurent. 15th place, Alan Patterson with Neil Stevenson, Michael Taylor, Chris Morris, Tim Adcock and Troy Goatley. Rest of those positions up on your screen as we've got a few less drivers than normal. 38 total set. Not sure all of them are actually going to be taken to the track. A few non-qualifiers, of course, but looks to be down on numbers to usual timing. So we'll have to see how this one plays out, of course. But the final cars coming to that grid now. Get themselves ready for tonight's race. Around here, we're going to go for 16 laps tonight. We should make a nice little furrow around what is not a short track by any means. It's small in size, but long in lap time, comparatively. Engines rev, grid is full. Green flag flies, and we're away at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Into that first corner, still the same difficult, immediate left-hander.
Oh, we got a crash straight away.
We do indeed, and that's what happened.
That was, I believe, that was SJ Dunning. I think he just hit the curb too much on cold tires, and he just turned himself into the wall. I'm not really sure what happened there. That looked really weird.
Lost the back end from what I can see. He just tipped the back end out. Didn't quite have the grip on cold tyres. Looking back towards the front there. Edwards still leads away from Lee Anderson in second with Hobbs in third. Clark Williams has dropped back a lot off that start. We've seen Ben Daniels move forwards there. He's now riding in fourth with Adam Parle. Adrian Hendy there also.
Oh, we got another spin. Oh, that's 5 cars collected straight away. Wow. That was big. That's Clark Williams again involved in that when they crash in front of him.
It certainly was. We'll take a quick look at what happened there as Clark Williams was in fact involved in that one. A big wreck on the first lap. Towards the end of that infield section, and we had initial contact there between, I want to say it was just up ahead of him, but that was a little bit further back. I think it was around the 808 of Laurent. It was in fact, yes, just behind them. And we had Tim Adcock involved in that one too. Runs into the back and nowhere he can unfortunately go as the 3-3 of Michael Taylor tips the back of the 7, dumps him round, leaving cars in the middle of the corner, and everyone plows into him, Maltby included. A very messy place to have a wreck there, Linus, and well, the lead lap cars at the front there are just coming out of turn number 4 of the NASCAR layout into that final chicane. Really a 3-corner chicane, quite an unusual one there, because you've just got that straight in from the corner and then just quickly flick right.
Yeah, it's a really tricky one. I think it's a bit easier in these cars than it is in the NASCARs, which it was originally designed for. They seem to get through there pretty well, most of the guys, and they did a good job through the bust-up chicane as well, as you could see. No major mistakes there. It's pretty spread out here for being the first lap of a race, with Edwards leading from Anderson, Hobbs, and then Daniels up into 4th with Adam Parle in 5th. So they haven't done too much up here apart from.
Of course,
I've lost his name.
Well, of course, but that would be SJ Dunning you're referring to, of course. But the leaders have really broken away here. We've got our first 5-car group, last in that group being Adam Parle. Of course, Simon Edwards up front, one of the old guard of drivers who kind of struggled a little bit recently with the tyre change, of course, to version 7, Linus, but he seems to be coping well here, whether that could just be simply his adaptability as a race driver compared to a known track with a different tyre handling. This is unique to everybody, so Notice that talent of Edwards showing through here, but look at this, Anderson right up on him now. He said the draft is almost gone on the new Skippys with the new model and how they handle. Kind of looks like that because he's really not gaining on Edwards as much as you'd expect. In fact, he backs out before the chicane.
Yeah, he does. You don't really want to go side by side through here either, but I think Edwards might be running very high tire pressures to give him the extra speed around the oval, which would be very crucial for him. And it's interesting to see Lee Anderson. We're not used to seeing him up here, so it's going to be fun to see what he can do. And Hobbs is not keeping up at all. In fact, the whole field has spread out quite a lot over these first couple of laps than what we're used to seeing. Oh, and that's Daniels around. He hit the sausage curb and into the wall he goes.
We said those sausage curbs could be lethal. You were very much right, Linus. He clips that curb, bounces up and just spins around, slamming into the outside safety barrier there. Hopefully not a big impact for him, but that's unfortunately going to be his race for now. He is hobbling back along the track. Going to continue, but not really got the pace he would have wanted here. Lap traffic in the way there of your lead group, which is going to spread this out somewhat. Hobbs getting past Maltby, of course. Maltby lapped early on after that big 5-car incident we saw on lap number 2. That leaves our top 3 really through the gap here. Adam Powell going to get through as well once he can catch up. He's 2 lap cars back though, so not really had the chance to catch that traffic as well as the leaders have. Right now, Edwards, Anderson and Hobbs, your top 3. And you do seem to be right, Linus. I think that you might be right on the point of tyre pressure, that Edwards does seem to really stretch once they get onto the straights here. And of course, being a Roval, that's one of those tactical decisions you've got to make as a driver. Do you focus on speed on the oval? Do you focus on the speed on the infield? Do you think enough speed on the oval will be enough to keep him ahead?
Well, as long as you can pretty much keep up on the infield, I think you'll gain enough around the oval with the quicker way you'll get up to the top speed. And if you can get through this bust-up chicane here without lifting too much, you're obviously going to gain a lot there as well. And that seems to be exactly what Edwards is doing here, is he's actually pulling a gap to Anderson through there with the extra experience. It looks like he's a bit better at taking the line, and Hobbs is not keeping up either. So these guys are really stretching it out now, not having any sort of battle whatsoever as they come into the last chicane here again, nice and easy. No one going too high on the curves, seeing that Daniels disappeared on the last lap, and something has actually happened to Adrian Hendy as well on that last lap that we must have missed. He actually crashed in turn 1.
Yeah, we just saw Barrington was turned around a moment ago on this. We had on the screen. You would have seen that as this race is claiming a share of victims. Of course, this car not quite as much grip on the version 7 tyre. It's a lot more of a very loose car. We've seen that in a couple of the more familiar racetracks that we know and are used to how the cars handle Linus, but the cars have really been getting a lot looser. Like we saw a lot of incidents at Suzuka, especially in Degners. They were being a problem. So a track like this with a lot of twisting and turning, a lot of going back on yourself, a lot of very tight racetrack in comparison. It's certainly proven to be a lot for these cars, and they're really not quite getting the same performance we'd expect. But we look at the weather, overcast skybox, which does have a big impact on how the cars behave.
Yeah, it really does, and it's very twisty, but it's not very fast on infield either, so it's oh, we just saw another car spinning there right in front of Seymour Harding. That was Stefan Nobes falling victim to the low grip in his car, and thankfully Harding managed to get around that. So that was pretty much the highest battle we had in the field for P number 11, and that ended when Nobes won around. As we can see now on the replay, he just turns in and well, just loses the back end. No grip at all in that car.
Absolutely. Well,
oh, and he almost ran into the lap car as well, coming back onto the track.
Coming out of turn 4 right now is Jack Hobbs, but look at where Anderson and Edwards are. They've already broken away from third place, I should say, as right now the two of them heading across the start-finish line here at Charlotte, coming up on more lap traffic. Edwards does seem to be keeping a commanding distance ahead here of Lee Anderson. Jack Hobbs has fallen back. He's going to be back about 2.3 seconds from second place. Adam Powell, a further 2.5 seconds himself, actually right now, dealing with more lap traffic that he's not quite been able to navigate. Christopher Keeble 5 seconds back from him, so our lead is very spread out here. In fact, all the times I'm seeing this 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. We've got a couple of cars in proximity, but it's not very many. It kind of has to go back to Alan Patterson, who's in the top 10 now, which has got to be one of the first times I've seen Alan Patterson up here. Great performance from him today. 9th place. He's got a car right behind him of Anthony Catt, one of the good performers. Seymour Harding there, who had an incident, he's just behind them. We're all within about 2-3 seconds of each other. Anthony Jones a good distance back from that one, but keep an eye on Patterson right now, because he looks like Catt is going to go for a move.
Yeah, he is, and well, the field being very spread out compared to what we're used to seeing here. Probably because it's a new track, but anyways, we have one battle here for P number 9 and 10, and Cat is actually getting really close. Now he's going to look to the outside of Patterson. He's not going to be able to do it though. He's probably going to try and set him up for the oval. He might go for a dive here. He will not. He will stay behind and see what he can do. Now he's going to try and get a much shallower exit onto the oval, and he's actually going to pass him before they even get up to speed.
Certainly is. That was very quick. In fact, Harding goes through as well there, so perhaps a tactical move there by Patterson, wanting to maintain his car on the racetrack with how temperamental they've been so far. Another lap going to be completed by Edwards and Anderson. That gap hasn't changed at all, Linus. We definitely see Anderson stronger on the infield section, but not able to find a way to get past, possibly unfamiliarity with the track. Maybe, or just great defensive racing by Edwards, but out on the open track itself, it does seem like those tyre pressures might be helping him. That'll be something you'll have to ask him after the race, but heading into the infield section now on lap number 6 here for your lead drivers. Going to be 10 to go after this lap, and so far we're seeing a very different race to what we normally expect at the Skippys. This is very spread out.
Yeah, it really is. It's starting to tighten up again for the lead here. Lee Anderson getting a bit closer to Edwards, especially here for the infield. He's doing a really good job. As we have an incident with the 30 car, sorry.
Not an incident, no. We've got some action on the track here as Tony Stack and James Barrington racing position. Stack looking to make a move into turn 1 here. Dives it down the inside there. Turn number 1. Corner will be in his favour for turn number 2 here. As they're going to head down now to this double right here. At least it races like a double right. Nice strategic move there by Stack. Will move him up to 16th place. And they have got cars ahead of them. Don't think that's one for position. But we do have Jonathan Rex. It is for position, in fact. So Barrington and Stack closing in there on Jonathan Rex. He's going to be running in 15th place right now. So this is going to be Tony Stack's next intended victim at the moment. The timing has come down quite dramatically here. So moving forward quite a bit. Of course, Stack was further up the field. He was running 11th, Linus. Gone back quite a good way. Was involved in that early incident we saw with the multi-car hit.
Yeah, that really put him way down in the field, and he's currently running 48.5 seconds behind the leader, so he did lose quite a lot of time, but not too many positions, as we can see moving to the outside here of Jonathan Rex, and he's going to get around him in the NASCAR turn 1 and 2, coming down towards the bus stop on the backstraight, and I think Rex is just going to back out here, if he's even going to have a chance. As we have a replay of, I believe that is Seymour Harding, who just lost it on the back straight bus stop chicane. He went over the sausage curb, flew up in the air and just spun around.
He certainly did. That's going to happen. That's happened a lot to a lot of drivers in today's races. We'll take a look back at the lead again, and Anderson closer than ever, within 3/10 here of Edwards, but we'll see that gap here. A perfect example of this one as the 52 and the 337 head out onto the outer part of the track. It just seems like Edwards pulls away almost immediately as they turn out onto the oval, Linus.
Yeah, he gets a little bit better exit, and then if he has the higher tire pressure, he just drives away. There's nothing really Anderson can do, but he isn't driving away that much this time. He might be getting a little bit of draft here, Anderson. He's actually closing up quite quickly now, but he's not going to make a move into the bus stop, obviously, which is going to slow his pace down. So letting Edwards pull a gap again. So it's a bit weird going around this oval with these guys, but he might be able to get close enough to do something coming towards the end of the race, as we have only completed 7 laps so far.
Yeah, this race feels like it's longer than it actually is. Lap number 7 here as they come out there. We had a bit of a slide for Edwards coming through the final chicane, so possibly, yeah, the high tire pressure is making that car a little more skittish, Linus. And maybe a lot of these guys spinning out have also gone for higher pressures, perhaps why they're losing the back end on corners, whereas the guys running lower tire pressures have more grip here, showing by a much more stable line, which is what I think we're seeing from Anderson. Edwards does seem to be more on the edge of his car.
Yeah, he is. If he has higher tire pressures, he really has to push it in order to stay away, and Anderson is right on him still. See if he can get a bit closer here now through the little twist, a bit over the crest, and then coming down this hill, which is actually a lot steeper than it looks on the camera. That is really, really steep. It's like a 3-story drop, and you can't really tell that from this angle. But Anderson doing everything he can. He's going to look to try and get the crossover on him now. He's not going to be able to do it. See if he can set him up for the oval, or if Edwards is just going to pull away again. He's trying to keep the same line, but he just can't seem to get the same speed on the exit.
No, it just seems like he has a lot more grip. In fact, on that banking section, Linus, that Edwards just pulls and pulls and pulls, and we see Anderson kind of building on the draft. Not quite as dramatic as we've seen in the past, and Edwards going to have to go defensive here, holding to the inside line, force Anderson to go wide to the chicane. Anderson backs out, of course, he has to. And it seems like if you haven't got that pass made by the chicane, you're in a terrible position then to get that momentum back after it, and he just never seems to be able to get the chance.
Yeah, with it being nearly a flat-out chicane, or might even be flat-out for Simon Edwards, lifting out before it is obviously going to kill your momentum for the rest of the oval bit. And he needs to be closer coming down here to be able to make a move on the inside, like Jimmy Johnson tried on Truex on the last lap, which didn't really play out very well, if you saw that. But he's doing his best. He's doing what he can. He's obviously not had a top 5 finish at all this season, so still being in second place is still really, really good. As we're on board again here with Seymour Harding, in the car in front of him really messed up the chicane. That's Alan Patterson, and he's just going to pass him coming around the oval and get up into 11th place. Yeah, as we get a replay of that again here. Patterson just... oh, he went over the sausage curb and went way up in the air and just lost all momentum.
Not a great position to be in there, as we are looking here at 7th and 8th place, 88 in the 027 here. Kirkman from 12th up to 7th and recovering after an incident himself, hitting the wall. In fact, Ben Daniels now has a whole no nose cone on that car, and he's still fighting back here to regain 7th from Kirkman, Linus, as they're fighting through this latter part of the infield. And I must say, that's going to be a massive hampering for him on the oval.
Yeah, unless... oh, as we see the car in front of him going off the track, that might have been a lap car actually, yeah, so never mind. That was Paul Smith getting out of the way. Yeah, he needs to really get in behind Kirkman here and get underneath his rear wing to get as little air as possible on the front of that car, because if he moves out, it's just going to stall him out, I believe. But he does try to move out here, so that's interesting. Moves back in as it just stops his car, and then he gets a run again. He moves out again, and his car just stalls out.
He's going to try and stay out there,
contact.
Looked like he was going to try and stay out there and force it. Oh, problems as he goes into the oh, wow.
Both of them. And Daniels is in the wall. He's out.
It looked as though Kirkman got sideways, and both of them did, but wow, yes, Daniels there goes slamming into the safer barrier and almost stops dead there as he catches that foam out of barrier. Kirkman, pressure lifted off him now. Daniels' day unfortunately done, but I don't think Kirkman's going to be free and clear just yet. Anthony Catt cleared himself over the traffic. He's now gaining here on Dave Kirkman. 31st to 8th. That's our biggest mover so far. Anthony Catt in this race, almost from the back of this field, and he is absolutely rampaging forwards.
Yeah, he's doing a really, really good job, having passed some 23 cars so far in this race, so he's almost all the way up there, and a few positions ahead of him. 3rd, 4th place. We have a battle forming up once again between Hobbs and Paul. Paul is not really close enough, though. He's almost a second behind Hobbs as they come out onto the oval again, and they have a lap car behind him as well, which could come into play if he decides to make a pass. But Hobbs actually pulled out a massive gap there going onto the oval bit, so I don't know if Paul will be able to do anything about that.
Look at the very front here, Anderson Edwards, as Anderson getting very aggressive here, and we saw there Edwards just caught a curb coming through that chicane on the back, but he kept it straight just about. We saw a lot of sparks fly from Edwards' machine, but Anderson is absolutely getting desperate now. Lap 11 will start this time by into the final chicane here, as Anderson getting very much more aggressive than he has been at the start of this race, looking to try and push an opening.
Yeah, he got pretty close that time, but I don't think it's close enough to be able to make a move, so he's just going to have to try and see how close he has to be going into the bus stop to be able to get up to the absolute back of Edwards going into that last chicane to be able to break his way past him, because I think that's the only way he's going to be able to do it. You can't do it into the bus stop because it's too much of a risk, but into the last chicane you can definitely do it, and he's trying his best. So you can see they're going really wide there. on that back straight. But I just don't think he's going to be able to do it.
No, I just don't think that car has the legs. It's always the attack into that final chicane that really appears, well, sorry, the second chicane, one of the backstretch that appears to be the opportunity for Anderson, but he's going to have to pull something very aggressive out the back to get it done, and he has to get that great start here. And it seems to be this final corner is really his undoing. Linus just cannot carry the speed that is hard, kind of 180-degree corner onto banking. And that's something that perhaps people aren't seeing from the camera angles, is they're coming out that corner, climbing up onto banking and diving down into the groove of the racetrack as Anderson once again gets a good run here. But again, Edwards holds that low defensive line, which is where he needs to stay to hold the racing line into the chicane. And it just doesn't seem like Anderson has anything to answer with, because he can't find a way to get below him.
Yeah, I think he gets a little bit too close going into that bus stop. Means he has to lift out a bit too much, and that's why he's not getting close enough to the last chicane. So he needs to be a bit smarter coming down towards that bus stop, so he doesn't have to lift out as much, and then he will be able to get a run out of it, because you can see he gets really close into the chicane, but it's not close enough. So he needs to just be a little bit smarter when they get onto the oval and down towards the bus stop. Just lift out a little earlier, try and keep the same momentum, because if he gets too close, then he's gonna lose too much. So it's see if he can figure that out before we get to the end, as we have the battle back there again with never mind, keep going.
I was going to say that
was Parlin
whilst we weren't looking, Anthony Cat got past Dave Kirkman, and he is beginning to pull that gap out. Only about right now 2 seconds, but he's definitely stretching that one away. No chance realistically of catching Ridlington. He's about 7 seconds up the line here from Cat, and we have 5 laps to go. But interesting to see how well he's managed to make his way forward, Linus. That Cat 31st to 7th, that is nothing to sniff at.
No, that's a really good job from him.
I'm not sure if we saw that on the broadcast, but lap car decided he didn't particularly want to move and was going to sit basically on the racing line, causing Cat to have to drive off onto the grass to get around him. That was kind of possibly pay attention time.
Well, he made it through there anyway, so no harm done, thankfully. As we have Jones again working to try and get back in up to the back of Seymour Harding to get that 9th position back. They're racing for the last 2 spots in the top 10, so still good result for both of them, as that same lap car is on the inside now of Harding, and he's gonna really ruin that race.
That was crazy. I need to see who that is, because that was honestly a very oblivious line to take. The 26 machine, the lap machine that's doing that, that's Christopher Kane, who seems to be driving his own race. Does he think he's in time trial mode? Is he out for a Sunday drive? Because that car just seems to go where it wants at a very leisurely pace. I think he's looking for his Werther's Originals, because that's driving like an old man.
Yeah, that was great awareness from Harding, though, to not just turn in and wreck his race there. He kept his head cool, and he drove around him, and well, he did a good job staying away from that, which has spread these guys out a bit now, though. As Ridlington is back up on the back of Christopher Keeble here for the last position in the top 5, to go onto the back straight, almost into the grass there for Keeble, getting Ridlington slightly closer again, but he's not going to be able to do anything. I don't think it's too easy to pass here in the infield section. It just keeps on turning back and forth, but you can't really get close enough to make a move unless there's a mistake from the car in front.
I think you're right. It does seem to be something we're seeing from a lot of these guys. They're just not quite making it happen. One thing I would like to point out here...
Oh, there he goes. He's wide. And we get a pass.
That's the mistake you were speaking about, Linus. And I was just going to say, the thing that I really like about Charlotte is the one concession, shall we say, that helps protect against the typical things you'll see on very constrained road courses, where you have perhaps a cutback where there's 2 different directions of travel very close to each other. There are fairly strategically placed walls, it seems, quite a lot of the way around the infield here, that prevent a car that goes off on a corner from then encroaching on the next side of traffic and cutting across into a different portion of the track, all throughout the infield, which I think is a really clever design of the road course here to try and make it a lot safer, so you don't have someone fail to make a corner and just go flying off the end.
Yeah, they had...
seen that at Phillip Island in Via Supercars. That was a pretty horrific crash, but
they've done a really good job when they made this infield section of this whole road course actually to try and prevent all that sort of stuff. So put a lot of time and money into it, and it's actually played out pretty well now, as we can see Lee Anderson all over the back of Edwards here now, as we are at 3 laps to go, almost only 2.5 laps to go, as they come up over the hill and down through this drop again. Like I said, you can't see how steep that really is. It's incredibly steep, so you get a lot of speed into this left-hander, but they do it pretty well, both of them. Edwards gets a little bit wide, so Anderson is close again. Maybe he will be able to set him up now for the Roval. Going to be interesting to see if he will back out early, or if he's even going to try and get him before the bus stop, but it seems like Edwards has the better speed on the exit, so we'll have to see what happens here.
And there he goes again. Edwards just pulling a gap again, but it's not quite as big this time, so Anderson's doing something right. You know the one thing I do miss, Linus, from Charlotte? The toilet block jump on the infield. As here comes Anderson on the outside. More on that story later. Holding a good strong position here. Can he hold him in?
Don't
I
do
think
it.
he's got a chance. He's going to go for it, and he's going to probably cut a lot of corner. As he wow, big move there. But that required a lot of concessions from Edwards, I think, to get that done. Edwards ran very wide in that chicane there, because you could see him coming in, see him committing. Edwards held it wide as Anderson kind of cut across the line he was on.
That was a brave move. That was a very brave move from Lee Anderson to do that. Hit that sausage curve just slightly and you race it. Well, you kill both of you. He just, oh wow, I'm surprised he even tried to do that, but somehow he managed to do it. And as we get another replay here, I think we'll say that move took very big wheels. Very big wheels. Very big. He's just inches from that inside curb, and he actually goes too high on the curb, so he almost loses the car, but he's able to hold on to it. So that was really impressive. As we are at 2 laps to go now, and Edwards is really chasing him now, going to try and get that lead right back, coming onto the oval again.
Well, we'll have to see exactly how Edwards, a man who's always been strong on the outer part of the track, how he can actually use that speed he has to try and make that move. Will it be super easy for him to get past, considering how much more speed he had perhaps on the oval portion than Anderson did? Did Anderson just throw everything at that move and make it stick here? We'll have to see, because look how close he stays, but the gap seems to open up just the same now between leader and second place.
It does. That's a bit weird. I think Edwards though might try and wait until the last chicane to make a move. I don't think he wants to take the same risk that Anderson did, but with him being this far back, he can go flat out, or pretty much flat out through that chicane without losing any time at all, I would guess. And Anderson is going really shallow into that chicane as well. Look
at the overspeed there. He took a very nice lackadaisical run, and here comes Edwards.
This is what I was talking about earlier.
Being here is perfect for the final chicane. He puts himself in just the right position now with a very straight entry to this chicane to have the inside line there. No question about it. He'll get the corner. Nicely given room by Anderson. And through goes Edwards. Now he has to hold it for one more lap here. On to lap 16 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And this will be a very telling lap, because Anderson could just throw everything to the wind again. Maybe he just showed his cards too soon, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. There's no way for Edwards to protect against that, though. That's the issue right here. Unless he backs out a bit earlier than Anderson expects and gets the run out of the chicane and is able to get him back in the last chicane. But we'll have to see.
I think the only suggestion, Linus, is back him up out of this final corner on the infield. Would be what I would do. Is if you could prevent him from getting a run at all on the oval portion, you've got a chance. But he's got to do something here. And I think he just needs to get his best possible exit, because it's been historically true throughout the race that Edwards has had the better run through this final corner from the infield. What is 18-19 now on the new layout? So this is it, the final chance at the corner. Who gets it right? A wider line there by Anderson, as he found something out that he didn't know before. The gap is closer, like it was the time he passed. Will we see a big defensive move here by Edwards? Or will we see an opportunity to make a pass? Here comes the draft. Anderson going to go for it. Will Edwards give him room this time, though, as he goes to the outside? Edwards has to hold it low and hope he has the room, but it's going to be side by side again, which means Anderson has it, but he drops back and takes a nice smooth line through the corner. Will he get more speed back? It's going to be very, very close. I don't think he's close enough. I think this could be Lee Anderson, having just done the impossible 2 laps in a row, making that pass at exactly the same spot, although here comes Edwards. Big draft coming in now as he got the chance to outbrake him.
No, he's not.
No, Jimmy Johnson just yet. Is he going to cook it? He's cooked it. He's cooked it.
No.
Oh, is he going to win? Wow. Oh my gosh. What a result.
Anderson might have gotten a slowdown there, so he had to slow down. I don't think he's going to be scored in that position just yet.
I don't think well, he might have got a slowdown, but it was more that he just decided to, well, be the bun for that sausage curb as he rode straight over the top of it, going straight, causing Edwards to have to check on the brakes so hard to avoid hitting him and dive up above, and they nearly crossed the line at the same time there. That was... wow.
That was really, really exciting. As
that was incredible.
A couple of battles going on. We got 3 cars coming into the last chicane here at once for P number 8, 9, and 10. And that's going to be Harding winning that
Johnson
one.
And Kirkman in those positions. Yeah, fantastic result from those guys. Looking for any more further battles going on through the field here.
Nothing really.
Not seeing really anything at the moment, but honestly, that ending. Gotta give it to both those guys, because Anderson had a phenomenal race. He was the only man that can even keep to Edwards, and hopefully get a chance to talk to both of them, maybe just one of them, but I hope we get a chance to talk to them, because I'd really like to understand what they did with those cars, because he tried so hard all race, he couldn't seem to make it work. Maybe he was just playing the long game of being happy to let it stick, and just letting the car run, staying with him and making a gap to third. But honestly, those 2 passes he made, and Edwards passed back on him, but all those 2 drivers, they've been the stars of this race. Of course, you know, first and second is kind of exemplar of that, but they put on a show.
Yeah, they did. I thought Edwards was going to throw it up the inside there coming into the last chicane, but he played it smart, put too much pressure on Anderson, who outbraked himself, and I mean, he almost got the under bit of that car stuck on the sausage curb. It's just, he's lucky that he didn't slam the outside wall there. That could have easily have happened when he landed that car back on the ground. Could have easily have turned right and slammed into the wall and killed this race completely about 100 meters from the finish line. So still a very good race, a very good show put on by them, and well done to Simon Edwards for managing to win that race in the end.
Certainly well. Of course, your post-race results there. Simon Edwards takes the win with Lee Anderson in second and Adam Parle in third. Jake Riddington and Jake Hobbs round out your top 5 there. Christopher Keeble, Anthony Catt from 31st to 7th, that's mad, and Harding from 33rd to 8th, incredible from both of those guys. Anthony Jones in 9th with Dave Kirkman in 10th. Mark Woodhouse with Michael Taylor, Alan Patterson, Tony Stack, Ewan Patterson with his 15th place, Jonathan Rex, Chris Robertson, Paul Grillo with Tim Adcock, and Neil Stevenson in 20th. Rest of those positions on your screen as we have a chance to 10th place Dave Kirkman, who came home today from 12th place to 10th. This track felt very loose for you guys. Everyone seemed to be spinning out. Dave, how was the race?
Yeah, hopefully you can hear me okay.
I can indeed.
Good. That was a horrible race. I hated it. It was actually a good result for me, but I hated that track, and for some reason the chicane, I just couldn't take it at speed, and I think I got up to 7th, and I just went backwards, and I just wanted the race to end as quickly as possible. But yeah, it was really, really difficult to keep the car on the track and not spin off, especially in the early laps.
It certainly seemed that way. Was it something? There's been an issue of tyre pressure, of course, low pressure for the infield, high pressure for the oval part. Was that a consideration in the car today?
Yeah, I ran quite high pressures, up to 19 psi, but I've generally been doing a lot of that recently anyway, just because the first few laps, if you run on low pressures, then you're really taking matters into your own hands in terms of can you keep it on the track. So I sacrificed the first couple of laps really with keeping the pressures higher than probably a lot of people that are running down to 14 psi, but yeah, even so, it was still difficult, and for some reason, I don't know whether it was because I was in a good position, I just couldn't take it flat through that chicane like I've been doing in practice, and I've had a few scary moments, let's say, through that chicane.
Well, it certainly made everything look entertaining from our end. Thank you for joining us, Dave. Dave Kirkman coming home today in 10th place. Oh, we've got Linus Brostrom here as well, who's standing by with Simon Edwards, who'd won today, so Linus?
Simon, that was a really, really, really good battle at the end and a great move in the last chicane. But what was your reaction when you saw Lee Anderson trying to get side by side with you through the bus stop?
I was just seeing how far along he got, and I was thinking if he got ahead of me, I'll relinquish it. But by the time I'd realised it was ahead of me, we were in the chicane. So I had to do a little panic brake and get as far left as I could the first time it happened anyway. I've had nobody actually try it on me yet this week, so that was entertaining. I'm sure it looked a bit spectacular as well.
Yeah, I've never seen that on this track before, someone trying to pass coming into that bus stop. But you did a great job getting back up to speed that second time to get him back in the chicane just later on the lap and get the win. So, but were you planning that all along, or was it just something that turned out to happen?
If I was second, I was going to have a go in the last chicane. I was a bit too far back to really have a proper go, but because I got so close to Lee, I think he just braked too late, thinking about me. So that's how I got round him, really. I think he had a slowdown. I think he popped it over the corner of the chicane.
Yeah, it went a bit high over the sausage curb. Well, other than that, what was your reaction on this track compared to the others? A lot of people seem to struggle, had a lot of crashes and feels really spread out, but you seem to not have any problems at all.
Oh, I hit the sausage curb a couple of times and I had a couple of big wiggles through that chicane. Paul, I forgot his second name, your guy.
Smith.
Smith. Yeah. Spun in front of me. Did you see that in the through T4? And there's no room through T4, so myself and Lee had to go on the grass to avoid him.
Wow. Now I think we missed that one.
Yeah, apart from that scare and Lee intimidating me and my throttle pot kept sticking on, which I've mostly got fixed for this race. It only did it on a couple of times on me. You probably saw me go on in a couple of corners just because I couldn't get it off throttle. But apart from that, I quite like this track. This version isn't the version we're running in the week, but I think it's actually a better version. Well,
congratulations on the win anyway, and good result for the championship as well, as Hobbs got 5th and Cat got 7th, so good luck next week and the rest of the championship.
Yes, I love Watkins as well, so I'll have a fun race there as well. Thank you,
Rachel?
guys.
Well, thanks for joining us there, Simon Everson. We finally got a chance to chat to Adam Powell, who came home today in 3rd place from 6th on the grid. Adam, very busy race overall, but you had a bit of a quiet one there. You were pretty much an open air for most of the latter half.
Yeah, was it? The two guys up in front just kind of disappeared after the chaos of the first couple of laps died down. I had Jack a couple of seconds in front of me, and I seemed to just sort of gradually reel him in. Then we caught traffic, and I definitely got the better of that, which kind of put me on his tail. And yeah, had one really good run into the chicane at the end of the lap. So Jack kind of pushed wide, so I had a bit of a wiggle there, but yeah, apparently the sim was reporting contact, which kind of broke his sort of suspension, unfortunately, which kind of killed the race for me after that, really. As I say, I managed to get through the chicane unscathed, and yeah, after that it was pretty much a done deal, really, as long as I didn't kill myself at high speed on some of the sausage curbs.
It's certainly one of those difficult racetracks, of course, and we'll have some good ones coming up. You thinking perhaps good points coming up in the future for you? Of course, it's been a breakout season this time round. Some great results. Do you think you can perhaps get a win before the end of the season?
Well, it'd be very nice, but I mean, given the calibre of some of the guys at the front of the field, I'm not going to sort of hang my hopes on that one. But I mean, I've been fairly consistent in terms of sort of top 10 finishes. I think it's my sort of second podium. So yeah, if I can kind of push a bit towards the podium places, then I'll be happy with that.
Well, there you go. Thanks very much for joining us. Adam Parker coming on today in 3rd place. And well, it's been a great one here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. We'll catch you, of course, next week for round number 10. I've been Rachel Wyford. I've been joined by Linus Broström and, as always, the wonderful Will Vincent behind the controls. We'll see you next time.